They say that a United States president comes of age in West Asia. For years, America has been a key player in the region. Presidential visits here have been a constant. So all eyes are on Joe Biden as he embarks on his maiden visit to West Asia. He's heading to Israel, West Bank, and finally Saudi Arabia. But this will not be an easy visit. Biden currently faces a kaleidoscope of challenges here. So let's break it down for you. Number one, Israel's collapsed government. Biden got the idea of a presidential visit to West Asia when he spoke to Bennett on the phone in April. So it is almost ironical that Bennett will not be the one greeting him. Instead, taking his place is Israel's caretaker Prime Minister Yair Lapid. Why? Because Israel's coalition government has collapsed. Israel is heading for its fifth election since 2019. This is especially bad news for the Biden administration because they were betting big on the Bennett government. Number two, Israel-Arab cooperation. Biden will become the first U.S. president to fly directly from Israel to Saudi Arabia. What makes this flight path historic is the fact that the two countries haven't normalized ties yet. But this itinerary is a reflection of the region's shifting politics. Currently, no one expects Riyadh and Tel Aviv to immediately normalize relations, but the trip could end up kicking off the process. So why does Israel and Saudi Arabia want to work together? Because they want to counter Iran, which brings us to the third challenge, countering Iran's rising influence in the region. The threat of Iran is likely to be a top focus for Biden's meetings. Israel views Iran as its enemy number one. As for Riyadh and Tehran, they have been engaged in a West Asian Cold War for years. A key question is finding the best way to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. This comes as efforts to revive the 2015 nuclear deal hit a stalemate. So Israel may be building ties with the Arab world, but what about Palestine? This brings us to challenge number four, the Israel-Palestinian conflict. Currently, there has been no progress in resolving the conflict. Biden is expected to take a short trip to Bethlehem, where he is likely to meet Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas. But domestic politics and support for Israel constrains Biden. There is not much that he can offer at the moment. As for Abbas himself, he is too weak and too unpopular to take up a stance in the region. This brings us to the main and final challenge, crude diplomacy. Biden may say oil is not the primary reason for his Saudi Arabia trip, but we all know it is. Since his presidential campaign, Biden urged to turn Riyadh into a pariah nation. Now, after a year in the White House, he is visiting the same nation, this time to strengthen ties. So why is Washington pivoting so hard now? The Russian invasion has thrown up new geopolitical realities. U.S. needs Saudi Arabia for oil again. Riyadh needs Washington for defense and security again. Currently, the U.S. president has a huge domestic liability. Gas prices are surging in his country, prices that Saudi Arabia could help lower. Also, the Crown Prince is young. He's likely to lead the kingdom for decades. So, a rapprochement had to happen at some point. But that's not all. Another partnership will take place when Biden is in West Asia, a virtual summit of the I2U2 grouping, also called the West Asian Quad. This includes the leaders of Israel, India, and the United Arab Emirates. It might seem like an unlikely collection of countries, but there are hopes for productive collaboration. The initiative intends to bring together Israeli technology, UAE capital, and Indian skills. Biden is set to embark on his maiden West Asia visit. We are tracking every minute of the visit, and our correspondents Susan Teherani from New York and Jody Cohen from Israel have sent us these reports.
With Iran reportedly now having enough enriched uranium for a nuclear bomb, Iran will be top of Israel's agenda as it prepares for President Biden's arrival in Israel on Wednesday. Iran is thought to be providing Russia with armed drones, and President Putin is expected to visit Iran next week. And analysts are suggesting this could speed up a regional defense alliance in West Asia against Iran. Defense Minister Gantz has hinted at a possible breakthrough during President Biden's visit. Whether or not the Israeli-Palestinian peace process or normalization normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia could make any headway will be being watched very closely. Analysts suggest we could see a series of small announcements suggesting Israel's further integration in the region. Top of the agenda for Biden, however, is likely to be an increase in oil production in Saudi Arabia to bring down fuel prices. This is Jodie Cohn for WION World is One.
Top issues that the president is hoping to really check off his list during this trip. It's also the issue of Iran is so important for Israel and Saudi Arabia. You know, despite the fact that they don't have official normalized relations, both are very concerned about the Iran nuclear deal that the Biden administration hopes at least to find some kind of breakthrough with the Islamic Republic. Both oppose that deal. This is something that the Biden administration will have to sort of reassure at least Israel, its strongest and longest ally in the region, that it won't affect relations between the two sides, and also to an extent Saudi Arabia. I do want to say that analysts here are saying that oil is going to be a big issue during Biden's trip to Saudi Arabia, and analysts say that if consumers here in the United States believe that in a situation and a scenario where President Biden is able to convince the Saudis to produce more oil, that's really not going to bring prices down much here in the United States. One, because Saudi Arabia is almost producing oil to its maximum capacity, as are other OPEC plus countries as well, and two, because there are other factors related to high inflation and gas prices that, a trip to Saudi Arabia might not be the solution. So those are some major issues as well. But there's also that defense pact that the Biden administration really wants to sign with Saudi Arabia and other Arab countries, and just waving and piggybacking on the Abraham Accords, I think is very important to note as well, which was signed by the Trump administration. It's not getting enough coverage. Just one last point, President Biden, despite being in the Middle East, is also holding a virtual summit with India, the United Emirates as well. And, that's something that the Biden administration is hoping to bring India closer into discussions with the Middle East as its, policy of pivot towards Asia.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.